So, good morning. What we saw yesterday was that the Senate was in session at midnight to discuss the emergency arising out of the imminent threat of attack on Cyprus by the Turkey. And at that time, Brabantio, Iago, and others, they come to the Senate hall. Brabantio says he has come with a personal grievance that his daughter has been abused, charmed, and drugged, and seduced by Othello. Well, these are the accusations that Brabantio levels against Othello. His daughter is a beautiful, fair, innocent girl, very gentle, civilized, educated. And naturally, it is not likely that she would take a decision on her own. In her normal senses, a girl is not likely to. It is not probable that a girl would take such a decision to run away with, to marry a dirty man like this. The figure of Othello is something fearful to look at. So it is impossible for the common sense, a man with a common sense, to believe that a girl would prefer to love such a sooty bosom, as he says, like this. It's a figure that inspires horror. It is not a lovable figure. It is not a cheerful figure. It is not a pleasant figure. So she must have been charmed and drugged. Then Duke says, well, there is no evidence. Then the Senate asks Othello what he has got to say. He says, I beseech you, sir, line number 115. I beseech you, sir, send for the lady to the sagittary. Let her speak. Send for the lady. Please bring her. Let her come and testify before this honorable court, before this session. Let her come and testify. If you do find me foul in her report, if the lady Desdemona accuses me of anything wrong that I have done, well, he says, you can pronounce any sentence on me. You can dismiss me from service. Also, you can sentence me for capital punishment. You can put me to death. Then Duke of Venice says, fetch Desdemona. Line number 120. Othello says, ancient, because as far as Othello is concerned, he is very honest. The ancient Iago is very, very honest. He is a gentleman. Perhaps the most honest friend that he ever had in his life. He trusts him fully. Well, there is not even an iota of doubt in the mind of Othello that Iago is such a devilish, a foul, a condemned villain. He believes him. He trusts him. He says, he asks ancient, that is Iago, to conduct them. Please go and bring them. You know the place. You best know the place. You know where we live, where she is, where Desdemona is. So please fetch them, go and bring them. Exeunt. They go together. Exeunt. If it is one person who goes out, it is exit. If it is more than one person, it is exeunt. Exeunt. Exit, one person goes out. Exeunt, more than one person goes out. Exeunt what? Iago with his attendants. And till she come, there is some time, between now and the time when she comes. So until she come, as truly as heaven, I do confess the vices of my blood. Now whatever sins that I have committed, I will open my heart. I am going to tell the court. So now, in a very gentle and polite manner, in an eloquent manner, well, Othello is going to tell Othello is going to testify before the Honorable Senate what exactly happened, how he happened to meet Desdemona, and how they happened to fall in love with each other, which finally ended in their marriage. I do confess the vices of my blood, the sins that I have committed. So justly to your grave ears, I'll present. I'm going to tell you how I did thrive. I happened to be the object of that lady's love, how she happened to fall in love with me, and she in mine, how we happened to love each other. Duke of Venice. Say it, Othello. Look, Othello is going to open his heart. Othello is going to narrate how they fell in love with each other. Othello says, well, I was a soldier. I am a soldier. I have been a soldier until I was 7. From my 7th age, when I was, I started my career at the age of 7. Well, Brabantio used to invite me. Brabantio used to invite me to his house to tell him stories. He was very lovable. He found a sort of interest in me, in my career, and he loved to hear my stories. So every day, whenever he got some free time, he used to invite me to his house. He wanted to listen to my stories of warfare, my stories of fighting, the story of my life. And I would narrate my story. And Desdemona used to listen to the story. And she wanted to hear more. So she would personally come to me and she would ask me to narrate the story of my life. So she wanted to hear more. And finally, because of my situation, the troubles that I have taken, the troubles that I have suffered, well, the sufferings, and the way, I lived, the peculiar situation in which, through which I was passing through. Well, she sympathized. She found a sort of sympathy, and finally, she fell in love with me, and I fell in love with her, and finally we decided to marry. So the opportunity was the opportunity for their, a close contact was arranged by Brabantio. So this is the sum and substance of the story that he narrates. Look at what he says. Well, her father loved me, oft invited me. Who? Brabantio. Brabantio loved me. He invited me, and he questioned me, the story of my life. He wanted to hear, he wanted to listen to the story of my life. From year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that I have passed, all the incidents of my life, he wanted to hear. He wanted to hear the story of my battles, the battles that I have waged, the sieges, well, the attacks, fortunes, the vicissitudes of life, the rise and fall of life that I have passed. I ran through, even from my boyish days, to the very moment that he bade me tell it, until the last moment, until the moment he asked me to narrate the story. So the entire story of my life, he wanted to listen to the story. Wherein, when he asked me, I spoke of the most disastrous chances. Well, the most, risky, dangerous things that I passed through my life, of moving accidents by flood and field, of different, climatic conditions, of hair-breadth escapes in the imminent deadly breach. Well, when in the battles, when cities were invaded, and when the walls were broken, and when the army led by me, entered the cities, fortresses. Well, when my life was in trouble, when my life was in danger, well, the hair-breadth escapes that I made of being taken by insolent foe and sold into slavery. Well, finally, sometimes, I was taken as a slave. In battles that I lost, I was taken as a slave, and they sold me in the slavery markets, sold to slavery. Then of my redemption, finally, my escape from there, and the portents in my travels history, wherein the antlers vast and deserts idle, my passages through different types of geographical conditions, rough quarries, rocks, hills, whose heads touch heaven, hills whose heads touch heaven, very, very tall, high mountains like Himalayas, the hills whose heads touch heaven. It was my hint to speak. It was my chance to speak. And other experiences, such was the process. Out of the cannibals that each other eat, and the anthropophagy, cannibals and anthropophagy are man-eaters, people who eat themselves, who eat the other members of, his own type. The cannibals and anthropophagy, and men whose heads do grow beneath their shoulders, different types of, perversions, different types of people, different shapes, different types, different characters. Well, this to hear, when I narrated these stories, would Desdemona seriously incline? She would listen very, very patiently, very attentively. Desdemona seriously inclined. But still, the house affairs would draw her thence. Well, she would be listening, even if, she was busy with the household chores, the household duties. She would finish those things immediately and come back and listen to me again. She would come again, and with a greedy ear. She was very, very attentive. She wanted to listen more and more. With a greedy ear, devour means eat greedily, devour up my discourse, my talk. She would very, very attentively listen to my talk, my discourse, which I observing took once a pliant hour, a pliant hour, and found a good means to draw from her a prayer of earnest heart that I would all my pilgrimage dilate, whereof by parcels, in pieces, in piecemeal, little by little, she had something heard, but not intentively. She said she wanted to hear more. Little by little, in more detail, she wanted to listen to the story. I did consent, I agreed, and often did beguile her of tears. So she would listen to me, and I could see tears in her eyes, because she feel very, very emotional, very, very emotional. She would be moved, very, very sympathetic. And I found tears in her eyes when I did speak of some distressful stuff that I may suffered, some terrible conditions that I suffered in my life. I could see there drops of tears in her eyes. Well, the story being done. Thus, after having finished the story, she gave me for the pains a world of sighs. So when I finished my story, she would heave a sigh like this. Oh, it was, she was very much moved by my situation, my condition, my story, the story of my life. Sighs. She saw, oh, it was strange. I have never heard such stories, she would say. It was passing strange. It was pitiful. It was wondrous pitiful. Oh, it's a great story. I have never heard stories like this, she would say. She wished she had not heard it. Oh, sometimes she would say, well, I wish I had not heard it, because it was so moving. The story of Othello's life was so moving that at the end of the story she would wish, well, I had not heard it. And she wished that heaven made her such a man. Then she thanked me. Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. She went on thanking me and bade me, if I had a friend that I loved her, if I had a friend, look, the indirect way of telling a person that I love you. If I had a friend that loved her, I should be teaching how to tell my story. Well, that would woo her. This is how our attachment started. Upon this hint I spake. So she gave me a hint that she loved me. So I took that hint, and she loved me for the dangers that I had passed. And I loved her. So she loved me for the dangers that I have passed, and I loved her that she did sympathize with me. She felt a lot of compassion. She was highly compassionate towards me. So for the love and compassion that she showed me, I loved her, and for the dangers that I have passed in my life, as she loved me. And sir, this is the only witchcraft and drugs that I have used, nothing else. This is the story of my love. This is the story of my life, and this is the story of my love. The witchcraft I have used, this is it. Then here comes Desdemona. Well, here comes the lady. Let her witness it. Let her open her heart. Duke of Venice says, I think Duke of Venice was listening very, very patiently, very attentively. He was listening. He says, I think this tale, this story would win the heart of my daughter as well. Even if my daughter listened to this story, she would love the man. She would love Othello. Good Brabantio, take up this mangled matter at the best. Well, think that it is all for the good. Don't worry about it. Don't grieve. Don't be unhappy about it. Men do their broken weapons rather use than their bare hands. Well, in a fight, in a quarrel, when a person, a fighter, loses, he finds that his knife is broken. He fights with the broken knife, not with the bare hand. Similarly, in this case, well, it has happened. Take it as it is. Brabantio says, I pray you, sir, hear her speak. I request you, please ask her to speak. Ask my daughter to speak. If she confesses, if she openly tells that she was half the wooer, well, she was also involved in it, as he said that she loved her for the dangers that he passed in his life. Half the wooer, if she has 50% responsibility in this affair, well, destruction on my head, you can punish me. If my bad blame laid on the man, well, come hither, gentle mistress. Do you perceive in all this noble company where most you owe obedience? Tell me whether you obey me or you obey this man. Can you open your heart? Desdemona says, look, we are going to see Desdemona for the first time. These are her first words. Listen to it. Watch. My noble father. She addresses her father. I do perceive here a divided duty. My duty is now divided. Divided means 50% to my father, 50% to my husband. Well, I perceive, I understand, I see a divided duty. To you, Father, to you, I am bound. I am obliged. Well, I owe. I am deeply indebted to you for all the things that I have for my life. You have given me life. You have given me education. For these things, I am highly obliged to you. My life and education, both to learn me, both to teach me, and how to respect you. You are the Lord of my duty. You have given me life. You have given me education. You have taught me. You have taught me everything. Whatever I have now, whatever I possess now, well, it is because of you. You have given me. So I respect you for that. But I am an adult of marriageable age, and I am a girl of marriageable age. I have found my husband, and here stands my husband. Well, but here is my husband, and so much duty as my mother showed to you, the duty, love and affection that my mother showed to you when she married you, the same thing I owe this gentleman. Well, so much duty as here is my husband, and so much duty as my mother showed to you, preferring you before her father. Well, at the time of your marriage, your wife, that is my mother, preferred you to her father. Similarly, now I am a wife. I am married. So I now belong to him. I respect you, of course. You are my father. You have given me life. You have given me education. Well, it's all right. I respect you. I am affectionate, loving. I am a very, very loving and affectionate, kind, obedient daughter to you. But here is my husband. I owe him what, my father owed you at the time of her marriage. So much I challenge that I may profess due to the more, my Lord, He is my husband. Brabantio, look, completely, broken to pieces. Oh, God be with you, I have done. Finished. I am done. Please, it your grace. On to the state affairs. Enough, sir. You can go ahead with your state affairs. Finished. I have nothing to say. I am broken. I am done. I would rather to adopt a child than get it. Now I wish I had no such daughter as this. Come here, Moor. I do give you. He calls the Moor, Othello, aside to his side and gives his daughter to Othello. I do give thee with all my heart, which, but thou hast already, you have already owned her. She is already yours, but still, I hand over my daughter to you. Thou hast already, with all my heart, I would keep from thee. For your sake, Jewel, I am glad. What? That I have no other child. I am lucky that I have no other child. Otherwise, I would have, had to be sorry, to be miserable again and again. Well, I have no other daughter, so I am very, very lucky. I am glad at soul I have no other child, for thy escape would teach me tyranny, to hang cloaks on them. I have done. Well, sometimes, that this situation, this incident, it would make me a tyrant, a cruel man. But don't worry. Finished. That's all, my lord. Then Duke of Venice says, let me speak like yourself and lay a sentence. Just wait a second. Because which, as a grace or step, may help these lovers into your favor when remedies are past. Well, when you can't find any solution to a problem, well, accept it. You accept it. If you feel sad, for example, if you feel sorrowful, for example, there is some misfortune. Well, just bear with it. Just live with it. Grief are ended by seeing the worst, which later hopes depended, to mourn a mischief, to be sad, to cry over it, to be cheerful, to be tearful, to go on mourning and lamenting, day after day, month after month. It's not good. That is past and gone. It's the next way. So if you lament, if you go on lamenting a grief, you will be inviting more mischief. You will be inviting more trouble. Well, if something happens, just forget about it. That's all. Accept it as it is. What cannot be preserved when fortune takes? Patience. Her injury, well, if you're not willing to accept it, well, patience would make a mockery of it. The rogue that smiles steals something from the thief. Now, if a robber, if a thief comes and steals something from a person, and the robbed man, the man who has been robbed, the man from whom things were stolen by the thief, if that man smiles, well, he robs himself, that spends a bootless grief. That would take the pleasure out of the robber. Well, if you just remain indifferent as if nothing has happened, if you go on smiling when a robber has taken, then Brabantio says, so you say that if a person comes and loots you, if a person comes and steals things from you, you should be cheerful, you should smile. Well, will you do the same in the case of Cyprus? As far as Cyprus is concerned, the Turks are going to attack Cyprus, and they are going to take that island away from us. Would you sit and smile? Would you be cheerful about it? Would you go on smiling about it, so that the Turks would feel unhappy? No. He says it is very easy to advise people, but The grief is mine. The loss is mine. And for me, such words, they never soothe my ears. They never give any comfort. Brabantio says, so let the Turk of Cyprus us beguile. We lose it not. So long as we smile, if we go on smiling, if the Turks take the Cyprus from us, and if we go on smiling, do we not lose it? He bears the sentence well that nothing bears but free comfort, which from thence he hears both the sentence of the sorrow. You have to put up with the sentence as well as the sorrow, the loss. That to pay grief must to poor patience bro. These sentences, these proverbs, these good old things that you say, to sugar, to gall, being both from strong on both sides are equivocal. It's very, very equivocal, very difficult to understand. But remember, words are words. I never yet did hear that the bruised heart were pierced through the ear. With the words of pierced through the ear, a bruised heart, a heart that is injured, a man who has suffered a loss will never be comforted with the words, with the words of comfort, with the words of consolation. You go on consoling, comforting a person by telling stories, words of comfort. You can never do that. I humbly request you, I humbly beseech you, please proceed to the affairs of the state. Then the Duke of Venice says, well, the Turk with the most mighty preparation makes for Cyprus. So what does he do? Finished. So that part is now over. Brabantio, Desdemona, Othello, their love affair, marriage, everything is over. Now he comes to business, Duke of Venice. The Turk, with a most mighty preparation, makes for Cyprus. They are trying to make, they are making preparations to attack Cyprus. So Othello, the fortitude of the place is best known to you. You know the place. And though we have here a substitute not allowed sufficiency, yet opinion, a sovereign mistress of effects, throws a more safer voice on you. So we feel that you should be there. So you must therefore be content, be happy to slabber the gloss of your new fortunes with this more stubborn and boisterous expedition. You are lately married, you are recently married. We know that you need some time, but at the same time, along with your honeymoon enjoyments, well, you take up this responsibility of protecting Cyprus from the invasion by the Turks. Then Othello says, the tyrant custom, most grave senators, hath made the flinty steel couch of war my thrice-driven bed of down. I do agonize a natural and prompt alacrity. I find it hardness, but I do undertake these present wars against the Ottomites. Don't worry. Even though my situation is such, it's just the marriage is over. We are lately married, newly married couple, but still, I am a soldier. I know the responsibility. So I am ready to undertake what? These present wars against the Ottomites. Ottomites, the Turks, Turkey. Most humbly, therefore, bending to your state, I crave a fit disposition for my wife. Please arrange an accommodation for my wife. I'll take my wife as well. I crave it, fit disposition for my wife. Due reference of place and exhibition, with such accommodation and besought as levels with her breeding, that is most appropriate to her. Please arrange an accommodation to my wife. So we are moving And then the Duke suggests, if you please be it at her father's, let her stay with her father. But Brabantio says, Desdemona's father says, no, 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 I will not have it so. Othello says, not I. Desdemona says, not I. So the Duke proposes, well, let her, for the time being, you are going to Cyprus, you are going to be engaged in a battle, so let her stay with her father. But nobody agrees. Duke says, if you please be it at her father's. Brabantio says, no. Othello says, no. And Desdemona says, no. Of course. Well, she is going to be, Othello is going to leave for Cyprus first, and then she will be taken to Cyprus by Iago, the honest, most faithful friend of Othello, and he is going to accompany Desdemona to Cyprus. He says, Desdemona, not I. I would not reside. I would not there reside. I would not live in my house with my father, to put my father in impatient thoughts that will trouble him a lot. But being in his eye, no, I will avoid such unpleasant situations. My gracious Duke, to my unfolding, lend your prosperous ear. Let me find a charter in your voice to assist my simpleness. Well, I would like to go with him. What would you, Desdemona? Then Desdemona says, well, I think we stop here for the day.